Quentin Tarantino, love it or hate it, his movies have always something to offer, whether that is breaking rules, big volumes of violence, great music, non-linear narratives, or genius dialogue. There's always a takeaway. And today I decided to actually look over this and take a deeper dive into the man's philosophy and see what he has to teach us all. And if your guess is a lot, you're absolutely right. Let's go into it. I know this sounds more like a Nike commercial, but it isn't. It's actually a takeaway from when he said, quote, "If you want to make a movie, make it. Don't wait for a grand. Don't wait for the perfect circumstances. Just make it." Now, I know what you're thinking. It might be easier for him to talk since he is a big Hollywood director. But that's who he is now. In his books, he talks extensively about his upbringing, his attempts at writing before making movies, working several years in music shops and different shops, etc. People often worry about timing, about reuniting the perfect conditions, about their potential lack of formal training. But if there's one thing that both filmmaking and photography have in common, is that both of these are creative disciplines. So the best way to do creative work is, of course, by creating. And it's through this experience that you're going to learn how things come together and how we can translate our ideas onto a piece of paper or a screen. So don't wait around for the perfect opportunity to line up or fall onto your lap. Go out and essentially make it happen with whatever you have available to you. And I'm a firm believer in this. I believe that it's better to try and fail potentially than to always wonder what it must have been like if you did try. I call this section Making Art Out of Pain, which is actually a reference to one of my most recent videos on the wonderful photography of Masahisa Fukase, and it's a tragic but yet beautiful story, so check it out if you haven't already. But also, it's a way of shortening what Tarantino said when he referred to going to jail and learning dialogue. And I'm going to quote exactly what he said. He said, "I was kind of excited about going to jail the first time. I knew I'd learn some great dialogue." And this actually hits home because I have a writer friend who says similar things when life turns south. She always says, "At least I can write about this someday," or "at least I can turn this person into a character in whatever I end up doing." So shout out Rachel for teaching me that, and to actually put that mindset of making something or utilizing that negativity that sometimes life has in store for you into something that can be more positive or into art itself. But basically what they're both saying here is that we can use difficult times to fuel our creativity. Sometimes this can even be cathartic because some of us can better comprehend, process, and overcome whatever those bad times meant to us. Tarantino faced plenty of rejection when he was trying to break into the industry. He didn't have formal training or industry connections. He apparently pitched one of his scripts to over 100 insiders before the project was finally greenlit. And one of the articles I consulted quoted a rejection letter from a studio executive to him that stated, quote, "Despite those tough times, Tarantino just kept pressing forward." This philosophy actually reminds me as well of Stoicism. And we talked about Stoicism when we talk about actually ways of dealing with rejection in photography and in the creative world. So if you want to check out that video, I'll also leave it linked because I think it actually draws a parallel line with Tarantino's philosophy that we'll see in this video. This is a very brief but very important point. Have a strong why when you or someone asks you why. Meaning, when we look at Tarantino, we can see that he's a very passionate and opinionated individual. And not once he didn't have a strong reasoning behind his answer to when people ask him why he had made such a movie, why he wanted to be a filmmaker, why he loved movies so much. For instance, when asked why he wanted to become a director, he said, quote, "I want to make movies that make people want to make movies." And over time, he has influenced countless of creative people through his movies. And so if you're asking me, why is this important to photographers? I actually say that this is important to all creatives. I feel like having a strong reasoning behind what we're doing is very important, even if that reasoning is that I enjoy doing it or I'm passionate about it. It doesn't have to be a complex reasoning. It just has to be a strong enough reasoning that it convinces yourself even in your moments of doubt or self-doubt, which is where I think personally I would apply this advice more when you're feeling down or you're questioning your projects that you're working on and whatnot. This can be a very good guiding light towards answers or towards another path that's going to change or hopefully lead you to finishing what you started. So another similarity that photography and filmmaking actually share is the existence of genres. So for instance, you can have action movies, horror, comedies, romance, etc. In photography, you can have street photography, documentary photography, fashion, sports. Now, let's hear what Tarantino has to say about these groups or labels, and let's see his approach and what we can take from that approach. Reservoir Dogs is a heist film where you never see the heist. Inglourious Basterds, the genre I was starting off working with was just a bunch of guys on a mission movie. And it is kind of that, but it's also beyond that. This tells us to not be afraid of mixing or crossing genres, of incorporating some of the elements of fashion photography or more off-the-cuff street photography style into your documentary work and vice versa. So the idea is to just do what you think it's best for the narrative or project you're working on. And like we've seen with Christopher Nolan, the last episode before this one, he spoke on the importance of following our instinct. And one thing in particular that I liked about his movies, particularly his earlier movies, so Jackie Brown, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, is that actually the ability of these movies to actually mimic life itself. So a crime movie can become suddenly a bit of romance, can become a comedy. It's simple to our eyes as an audience, but yet very complex from a narrative point of view to really nail all those rhythms down, to really mix and match different things, different tones, different moods, and make it all work. So I really appreciate that about Tarantino, and I think that's something that we can take from him about really going beyond what is the confines of a genre to really mimic life, to really work on our own style and how we see things. Now, this is a very interesting point. Here I would quote you with the source, but also my take on this. So when I was searching for videos and potential interviews so I can then take my own conclusions of his words, I actually found this very, very good article on medium.com, which pointed out through two different interviews, very lengthy interviews that Quentin Tarantino did, and other sources, books and whatnot that he wrote over the years and he worked on. And it talked about the author actually made a really good point about Tarantino's philosophy on passion and freedom. And I'll quote you some of that, but I'll also give you my personal perspective and how I would interpret it. Quote, "To be free is to choose to live a life doing what you love, and passion is doing what you love. However, this love must be something that puts you to work, something that both challenges and motivates you." But here's some much needed context, and this would be my personal approach to this. In society, we often are confronted with this idea of not having true freedom. We have too many commitments, whether that is with work, with our government, with family or friends. But the point is, where is our freedom gone? I think it's a fair question to ask. if we can't leave whenever we want, if we can't photograph whenever we want, if we can't do what we want whenever we want to? Well, the answer to this question is that our freedom lies in passion. Differently to what the author suggests in that article about the need to enslave yourself to your passions to be truly free, I don't argue that we should let go of everything and solely focus on what we love. We must be logical. Life doesn't really work like that. Tunnel vision can have drastic consequences, and we've touched here on the channel on some particular photographers who didn't benefit from this. But what I suggest is that we look at some of these initial thoughts of Tarantino and draw our own conclusions. What is crucial here is to understand that the premise of what he was saying is that the feeling of freedom is inherently tied to that of passion. Because when we choose to do what we love, we experience a fulfillment that expresses the true meaning of freedom. You can have all the freedom in the world, but what are you going to do with it if it's not meaningful? It's therefore about meaning, and what do we do with said freedom? That is why Tarantino makes big points throughout different interviews about being passionate and the importance of passion in our life. And his big passion, of course, was movies. So to be free ultimately is to do what we're passionate about. And I think this is a great thought to end this video with. I really appreciate the support that you've been given to the channel. I really appreciate the feedback on the recent videos. It's been really, really good. I appreciate that. Appreciate your thoughts, your constructive feedback as well. So let me know down below what you thought of this video. And yeah, look, I allocate time of my life to make these videos and to do other creative things because one of my passions is to create, and it's okay to have more than one passion as well. So passion also is something that evolves in time. You might pick up a new passion. It's just about the time and space that we put it in our lives or that we dedicate to pursue our passions in our lives. And so I hope that today's video had a positive impact. And again, let me know what you thought down below. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. More content is on the channel, so if you want to check it out, more videos, recent videos, they're all going to be, down below. Links to it, and I'll catch you in the next one. So take care, stay safe, keep shooting, keep creating, keep learning photography, and I'm out. Peace.